All right, today's lesson is on circle graphs. Now, circle graphs are different than any of the other graphs we've made. All the other graphs we've made have involved graph paper, lines, rulers, charts, things like that. Today, what you're going to need is you're going to need a protractor, you are going to need a straight edge, and you're going to need your calculator. Now, what we need to do first things first is determine the total. So in a circle graph, you're going to be given a set amount of data. And what's going to happen is you're going to want to take and you're going to want to add all of your numbers together to figure out what your total is going to be. So in this case, I'm going to take 1,200, 1,170, 590, and 500, add it together, and I'm going to get 3,460. So the total amount of money spent in this example is $3,460. Now, section number 2 is going to tell us we need to determine each section of a circle graph as a percentage, so as a decimal and a percent. So what that means is I'm going to take each one of these numbers here and I'm going to divide it by the total to get my decimal. And when I get my decimal, I'm then going to take the decimal and times it by 100 to get what the percentage of the circle would be. So when it looks like this, here we have rent. I'm going to take 1,200 divided by 3,460. I'm going to get 0.35. You're going to notice that all of my green highlighted numbers are left at 2 decimal places. So we're going to round them to 2 decimal places. Remember when rounding that if a number behind the digit you're wanting, so I want the second digit behind my decimal, that means we're looking at the third number behind the decimal. If it is 5 or larger, I'm going to round my number up. If it is 4 or less, I'm going to keep my number the same. Now that we have our decimals, we can take those and we can multiply each of them by 100 to get what percentage of our circle would be represented by that category. So rent would be represented by 35%, food by 34%, entertainment by 17%, and clothes by 14%. Now that will conclude what step 2 requires. Step 3 is going to require us to determine each section as a degree. So we're going to have to take the decimal degree numbers and multiply them by 360. Once again, these numbers are going to be rounded, but instead of rounding to a decimal, we're rounding to the nearest whole number. Our protractors don't do decimals well, so we're going to round to the nearest whole number. When we go and we do this, we're going to get rent is 126 degrees, food we should be 122 degrees, entertainment will be 61 degrees, and clothes will be 50 degrees. Yes, these are in degrees, and the reason they're in degrees is because it is a portion of a circle. It's what degree of the circle is represented by that. Now, we can check to make sure that our math calculations are correct, which is what step 4 is going to tell you to do. It's going to say add to make sure that degrees are 360 and a percent is 100. So if I take this here, I'm going to get 35 plus 34 plus 17 plus 14 gives me 100. I know that my step 2 math was correct. However, my step 3 math is off by a little bit. I only have 359 degrees. That's okay. The reason that I only have 359 degrees is due to rounding. So some of those numbers were rounded down, some were rounded up. They didn't exactly equal 360, but it's close. If you get anywhere from about 358 to 361, 62 maybe, you're in the right ballpark. Step 5 is going to you're going to draw a circle using a compass. If you're provided with a circle, even better. A lot of times I try and do my best to provide you with the circle so you don't have to mess around with your compass for no reason. Now what we're going to do is we're going to draw our radius, so that's from the center of the circle outwards. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure sections off in degrees using the new line as our starting point, and we're going to complete that until the circle is complete. So it'll make more sense once I show you what I'm talking about. So I've already drawn in my radius, so take your ruler, you must use a ruler, and draw in your radius. I've moved down my degrees here because I just don't have the ability to see the whole page like you do, and that's perfectly fine. You're now going to take your protractor, the lovely thing that looks just like this, and you're going to place it on you're going to place it on your radius here, line it up nicely, just like I am, and we're going to start with the first one, so 126 degrees. So I'm going to take my protractor, and I'm going to go all the way around until I get to 126 degrees. So right about here, And then you're going to take and you're going to draw a lovely line right there. What you will now do is you will remove your protractor because you have your lovely line. You're going to use your straight edge and you're going to connect that line or that dot you created back to your center point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my protractor, I'm going to spin it around. So that it is going to use this line as my starting point now. I'm going to line it up nicely right from the center point. It's not exactly centered on my end here. There we go. And now I'm going to find 122 degrees. So currently mine's set here, so 122. Remember, when you're reading your protractor, you're looking at the one that starts with 0. So if your 0 is at the bottom, you're reading the numbers on the bottom. If your 0 is at the top, you're reading the numbers at the top. So I have 122 degrees right here. I'm going to make a little dot with it. Once again, remove your protractor. Draw your line using a straight edge, please. Right back to the center point. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to continue. We're going to do 61 and 50 degrees in the exact same fashion. So turn your protractor around, use the last line you drew as your starting point. So now that this is all flipped around, I can line it up properly. Here we go. I'm going to find 61 degrees as my starting point. So here we go all the way to 61. There we go. I have 61 degrees here. That's perfectly fine. So now what I'm going to do, draw my lovely little dash, and then I'm going to connect it with a straight piece. So I'm going to remove my protractor. I'm going to put my straight line connecting my dot to that. And now you're going to take and you're going to measure that last one to see if it's somewhere in the vicinity of that 50 degrees. Like it might be, you should be pretty darn close, but it might be off by a degree or so just due to human error, A, and B, the fact that our stuff didn't fully add to 160. So mine's off by about a degree, which is fine. And the reason it's off by that much is because we were off by a full degree on the rest of our stuff. We only had 359 degrees. So for mine to be about 51-ish degrees, that's okay. You're now going to take and you must label these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight mine quickly here so that you can see, but it's super easy. My rent is going to be this one here. My food is going to be in green. Blue will be my entertainment. Purple is going to be my clothes. And now what you're going to do is you can label it as follows. You can put it as either a percentage, so 100, or a percentage, sorry, so 35%, or I can put it as 126 degrees. Normally we label it as a percent, so we're going to write 35% there. We're going to write 34% in this one. This one here is 17%, and this one here is 14%. Now, when we're doing this, because we've labeled them, we've color-coded them, it's easy to know which one is which. Sometimes you're going to be given a question where it's giving you this information and it wants you to figure out other information. You just reverse the steps. If you do come across a question like that and you do have questions about it, please send me a message on Teams and I can videotape a question like that if you're needing help